What is going on, you guys? My name is Justin, but you can call me J Swag. Welcome back to another episode of Sports Talk with Swag. Appreciate you stopping by, giving a listen, and hanging out with us here on this Wednesday afternoon. We're trying an afternoon stream this time. Um, it's 4:30. I figured let's try an afternoon, see if people tune in maybe at the end of their work days or right when they're getting home from work or when they're getting off of work, whatever. I don't know. I'm just always trying to try new things. Plus, I'm like really tired, so I was like, I don't know if I'll make it to be able to stream at like 7 or 8 p.m. tonight. So here we are instead in the afternoon. Got a little bit of a mixed bag episode for you guys today. We're going to start off talking about the recent sports card frenzy craze. That has kind of boomed over the past year or so. We'll kind of get into why that's happening, what's causing that, and if it's kind of just a phase or if it's going to be around here long term. All that good stuff. And then we're going to get into some tier lists. It's been a while since we did some tier lists here, and that's a favorite of mine to do here. So we have the 2020-2021 NBA City jerseys. Which we'll do, and then we are also going to rank every single Super Bowl halftime show, seeing as this past Sunday was the Super Bowl, and we had a new halftime show with The Weeknd, which I very much enjoyed. I thought it was really good. So I figured let's rank every other Super Bowl halftime show. But before we do that, make sure you guys are following us on social media. Facebook and Instagram are Sports Talk with Swag. Twitter is STWScast. You can send an email to sportstalkwithswag@gmail.com. All those links will be in the description or summary of whatever app you're listening to this on. What else? You can make sure you subscribe on YouTube to the YouTube channel so you can see the live videos of each episode. You can listen to the audio on Spotify or anywhere else you get your podcasts. But with that being said, let's kind of just hop right into it here and talk a little bit about sports cards. So as some of you may know, if you've been listening the past 2 or 3 months, I had started collecting just a handful of cards back in December. At the end of December, I basically talked about how Chris Paul is my favorite basketball player of all time. He's just my favorite athlete of all time. And I like, having and showing support and just like, showing my fandom, whatever. Not as a way of showing off, but just like to collect stuff. And typically when you think of sports, you think of like jerseys. And so I have a couple of his jerseys. I have his Wake Forest college jersey. I have a Hornets jersey of his, but it's hard to keep up with those, especially when you're someone like Chris Paul now, who's kind of hopping around teams every other year now, it seems. He's been on 3 different teams in 3 years, so it's a lot, and those are very expensive. Jerseys run anywhere from $60 to a couple $100. And so I was like, hey, let me just grab a couple cards of his. So I have one from each team. I have his rookie card, a Bowman rookie card. For the Hornets, and then I have one from him on the Clippers, one from him on the Rockets, one from him on the Thunder, and then I'm waiting to get one from the Suns, which I believe some of the cards for this season are just now coming out. So I may start looking for that pretty soon here. But I kind of started doing that, and then after I got those cards, it kind of opened up this whole world again of sports cards. And this was still before I really even knew how much the industry was kind of booming again and getting a resurgence, I guess you could say. And so when I went home for the holidays, I knew that I had held on to all of my old baseball cards. So I went through those at home, brought them all back here, and it was really fun to go through them. And I have actually, let me go grab them. So I went home and I remembered I had some good ones. So I have this one, which is a Barry Bonds card. Hopefully you can see that. And that is from, I thought for a while, especially when I was a kid, I thought it was his rookie card, but unfortunately it's not his rookie card. It's just it's a second year card. Still very cool though. And then I have this one, which is a Derek Jeter rookie card. And that one is also very cool and confirmed to be a rookie card. So that one is fairly valuable actually, and is only going to go up in value. Once he kind of gets inducted into the Hall of Fame in July. But so I knew that they had value, and then that opened up, like I said, a whole world of just seeing how the whole industry is booming. It's not just baseball, it's basketball. Basketball is the most expensive it's ever been, and football cards are really booming as well. Hockey and soccer, not quite as much, but I think there definitely will be a market for them within a year or so. But so I thought it'd be fun to kind of go over a little bit of, just some stuff for people who may not know a whole lot about the industry, that field, whatever you want to call it. So essentially, we've seen the card industry booming pretty much the past year or so is when it's really started to take off again. It's had a couple of different periods. And really the easiest way to break it down of why it's happening now is because of COVID, and because a lot of people are stuck at home. A lot of people are supposed to be stuck at home. And so they're bored. And people who were kids in the 80s and 90s, that was when sports cards were really booming the most, probably prior to this. They're not kids anymore, and they're adults, and they're people my age and older who now have incomes, and they have money to spend. And especially now in a year where no one's spending that money on traveling, or I don't think a whole lot of people are buying houses or anything in this, in this quarantine, whatever you want to call it. And so it's like, hey, like cards were really fun as a kid. It's a big nostalgic, opportunity. And it's also, if you're privy to it, a very good investment. Like I said, both of these cards, well, this Barry Bonds card, I just pulled out of the pack. I didn't buy it as a single or anything like that. This Derek Jeter rookie card I did buy it as a single. I remember, and my mom even remembered too. Actually, I saved up for a while my money when I was in probably middle school to buy that card, because Derek Jeter was my favorite baseball player of all time. Still is one of my favorite athletes of all time, and I just wanted it because I was like, oh, Derek Jeter's my favorite player. I want to have his rookie card. That's fun. And I very much remember that card not being any more than probably $15 to $20 at the time that I got it, which would have been probably the early to mid 2000s. And at this point, its potential value is very, very high. And I'll get a little bit more into that in just a tiny bit. But yeah, I mean, people are flipping cards and investing in them basically like the stock market almost. And so you have these people who don't even really know that much about sports or follow sports that much, but they're still putting a ton of money into it because it's only getting more popular. The values are only going up, especially if you know what you're doing. And you can make a really quick turnaround and get quick money off of them. For instance, earlier this year, Scottie Pippen rookie cards at a PSA 9, and I'll get into that in a second, were selling for around $300 to $350 on eBay. And then all of a sudden, The Last Dance comes out, which is a documentary series on the Bulls, and all of a sudden people are interested in Scottie Pippen again, and he's getting a lot of interest, and there's a lot of traffic for his name. And so then all of a sudden now his card value has doubled and it's up closer to $700 to buy it now. So stuff like that where, a lot of what it is, and this kind of leads into the next point of, why are people spending ungodly amounts of money on pieces of cardboard, essentially, is what cards are. And it's really just you're buying, if you're in it for the, if you're in it for the nostalgia or just like the fandom, which is what I am, it's just because it's a cool way to, experience the sports in a different way. I love basketball. And so it's really cool to, a couple weeks ago, I spent like $20 and I got 5 or 6 different packs of basketball cards from the 90s. And that was really cool just opening them up. It's really fun to open them, go through them and see what you get, see if you get any good ones, if you get players that you know. Um, I got a Michael Jordan card. I got a couple Dikembe Mutombo cards. I got a Charles Barkley card. I got a couple David Robinsons, a couple Shaquille O'Neals. And it was just really fun. And it's cool to have them and hold on to them. And I love going through them and looking at them again. But if you're in it more for the investment purposes and for the money and the entrepreneurial side of it, you're buying into the hype, essentially, is what it is you're just buying and selling the hype around someone. So, for instance, Zion Williamson, the number one pick in the draft last year, he had the most hype for an NBA rookie since LeBron James. And so his prices were immediately sky high, and several $100s to get a signed, graded rookie card of his. And then coming into this season, after last season, John Morant wins Rookie of the Year, and he has a great season, takes his team to the playoffs, or the play-in game, I guess. And the media, for whatever reason, and this is a whole other topic, but all of a sudden start doubting Zion Williamson, and I still don't understand that to this day. And so we've seen Zion's card prices dip because the hype around him has gone down, but Ja Morant's prices have only gone up. Luka Doncic, we've also seen him be high and then low and then really high and then come back down to the middle, which is kind of where it's at right now, but his stuff is still going to only steadily go up. But again, even with the Scottie Pippen example, it's just you're buying into the hype. That guy hasn't played basketball in 15 years. And he's been in the Hall of Fame for 10 years. So he's done everything he can in his career, but because this documentary series comes out, and it's all about him and Michael Jordan and their relationship and their team, people are really interested in him. And they're like, oh, you know what? Yeah, like Scottie Pippen was really good. Like I really enjoyed watching him play, excuse me. And I really liked seeing him in that documentary. I really like him now. I want to get a card of his. So it drives up the value, stuff like that. So that's why people are willing to spend so much money, because for them, it's just like a stock market. It's just like how we saw. You see the Nasdaq and the Dow Jones go up and down. It's just it's just the value of the company, and this is basically the value of the card, and it goes up and down. You can't buy shares in a card yet. I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being a thing. But, yeah, it's just the hype and the value of a player. And it because it's sports and those things change so much, you'll see the value definitely go up and down, especially with players who are still pretty young. Those can be pretty volatile and go really high, but then all of a sudden tank. So that's why I have no interest whatsoever in getting involved in it for the money aspect, to make any money off of it, because I have no interest in doing that with stocks either, because it's just not my kind of thing, and it's just basically gambling, which I don't like to do, and I want to do that because you can get in some big holes. But yeah, so that's kind of that aspect. And then another aspect which I thought would be interesting for people to hear is you heard me mention PSA 9 for a card. So a little concept, or not a concept, a little variable of cards is you can get them graded, professionally graded. There are companies who you send your card in, you pay them, and they will literally look at it under a microscope and they'll see, all right, are the corners bent or frayed at all? Are there print lines from when the card was printed on here? Is it centered well? Because cards, if you didn't know, cards are printed out on a big sheet and then they're just machine cut. And so is the centering of it really good, or is it kind of off? And stuff like that. They literally look at it under a microscope and give it a grade. And there's two big name companies out there right now. One is PSA and the other is BGS, Beckett Grading Services. And those are the ones where if you have a graded card by them, those are the ones that you can really help you with the value out of the card. Other companies are just a lot lower level, and so they're just, their name isn't as trustworthy in grading the card. And so they don't help the value out as much, but that's another factor and layer into the value of cards of, like, for instance, I have right here a PSA 9 Tyler Hero rookie card. And I got this about a month and a half ago, and I paid $25 for it. Now, if I were to look at, if I were to buy this, but just the card, so it's not been graded, it doesn't have this big hard case or, confirmed that it's in mint condition. It's just, if I were to just get the raw, what's called the raw card, I could probably get it for $5. But if this was in a PSA 10, it's probably closer to $50 to $75 worth of value. And again, Tyler Hero is only in his second year. So if he continues to play well and his skills go up, that card is only going to go up in value. So same as like all the Chris Paul cards I got, they're all raw. So I didn't pay more than $2 for any of those cards. But like, for instance, that Bowman rookie card I have of his, if I were to get it as a PSA 10, it's probably going to be, it might even go into like a couple $100 of value for that. Because it's, a 10 is gem mint condition, 9 is mint, 8 is near mint, 7 I believe is excellent, and then so on and so forth. And that really plays a factor in the value of cards because, it's saying how good they are, but then you can also get into the population of the cards, which is just, seeing there's, like PSA, they kind of mark down every card that they grade. So, we could look up and see like, in total, there are, 5,000 graded Tyler Hero NBA Hoops rookie cards. And, 2,000 of them are PSA 9s. So stuff like that. It's very interesting to me. I don't know. I thought it might be interesting to other people to hear about it. But, because I also have these two graded cards here, but they're from a company called WCG. And I went to their website, and it's very, I don't want to call it rinky dink because I don't want to be rude to them, but it's just they're a very small, low level company who's still starting out. So I got this reprint of Michael Jordan's rookie card. So this is from 96. The rookie card is from 86. It's a WCG 10. So it's a 10, but it's for this company, so it's not nearly as reputable. And I got that one. And I got this gold-plated Kobe Bryant rookie card, also a 10. And I got these both for $15 total, I think. And so that just kind of shows you the difference in value that the name can have for the grade and whatnot. But I was like, hey, why would I not want to have, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant rookie cards? That's really cool. But anyway, so yeah, I just thought that was an interesting thing that I would talk about and try to maybe help you guys learn a little about it. If you want to hear more, let me know. I would love to. I could do a whole other episode just breaking down even more about it and kind of teaching more about it. There's also some great podcasts out there that are doing this same thing, but their whole show is dedicated to it. So you can check those out as well. But yeah, so hopefully that was enjoyable. And informative for you guys. But with that being said, now let's hop into some tier rankings real quick here. Um, and let me see. I haven't done this in a while, so let's see if this is going to be the correct. All right. So let's see. Let's go over to Facecam. We want this to be this. There we go. And then this. Let's see. How can I edit this? Properties. All right, so let's just remove this and try again. Yes. And we'll say display capture. Okay. Nope, we don't want that one. We want this one. There we go. All right. Oops. Let's try. Does that work? Nope. All right. So we're just going to do this. All right. So let's move this up here so we can get a better look. I'm going to bring you down here. There we go. So now you can see my beautiful face. And let's do it like this. Does that work? It's just so janky. Whatever. We'll see it like this for now. All right. And then let's actually zoom this in a little bit. So you guys can see it a little better. And one more thing, we'll just move this over here. There we go. Now you can see it better. All right. Wunderbar. Now let's go back over here. Okay, we're all set up now. So what we're going to do here is we are going to rank every single Super Bowl halftime show. I spent my afternoon watching at least 5 minutes of every halftime show so I could properly do this ranking. And I have my notes here, so you may see me checking back and forth with them, but I'm going to try to not go to those too much. But so essentially, for those of you who don't know, there's always been a halftime show for the Super Bowls, dating all the way back to the 60s. But for the first 30 or so odd years, it was like college or halftime where it was the marching band. And so I didn't want to go through, 50, 60 some odd years of marching band halftime shows, half of which probably don't even have video or high quality video. So instead I started with 1991, which is when people pretty much say that the halftime show, quote unquote, actually started. That's when they started having pop music, rock music, stuff like that as the halftime shows, and it was actually like a production and a show. So we'll see how many of these these icons are a little tough to see who it is in each one, but I'm gonna try my darndest to figure out which one is which. But yeah, so here we go. So I can't even tell. I can't even tell who that first one is, so we're gonna skip it. But I know that the second one is Aerosmith, NSYNC, and Britney Spears from 2001. And this one, I'm gonna go ahead and start us off with a meh. So just in case you're not watching, the tiers we have are GOAT, which stands for greatest of all time, good, meh, bad, terrible, and haven't seen. Now again, I've seen all of them, so nothing's going to end up in that category. But the Instinct Aerosmith one was decent, but it didn't fit. Like Aerosmith and NSYNC and Britney Spears, I just felt like was a little over the place. It was nice though. A trend you may notice, especially with the earlier ones, is that for the first several years, it was more of a staged production, like almost like musical theater show as opposed to like a concert. But even when they started with the concerts, it was all lip synced, and they were all just kind of boring, in my opinion. So this was one of the first ones that had like live instruments, live vocals. You could tell they weren't lip syncing. And so obviously with NSYNC, you know, they were a hugely popular boy band at the time, and you know their vocals were fine because they were dancing the whole time. But that was something that I thought was fun. It was a group of people who were they had good choreography, and I enjoyed it. Aerosmith was a little not great. I don't really know how to say it in their performance. I was expecting higher at them, so it was fine. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. So that's where that one goes. The next one is Madonna, and that was from, let's see real quick. Let's check my list. Actually, I can bring this over here so you guys don't have to see me flip back and forth. And of course, now my computer is lagging mega hard. Really, really hard. Oh my gosh. All right, Madonna was 2012. And for this one, it felt like this performance of getting her to do the halftime show was like 10 to 20 years like too late. I feel like she would have been much better suited to be in like the early 2000s or in the 90s when she was a lot more popular. I don't know. It was very obviously lip synced, at least her whole performance. I mean, LMFAO was there, Nicki Minaj was there. It was like it was a weird collaboration of like a lot of different artists, and again, it just didn't fit. A lot of them didn't fit very well with each other, and yeah, it was just weird. I didn't really like it. I'm putting it in the bad category. It wasn't terrible, but it was definitely bad. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't think it was that good. Next up is Bruno Mars. Now this one, I'm putting this one in good for now, because this is definitely, I think, the best halftime show we've seen in, I guess you could call it, the modern era. At least for the past 12 years, I think it's the best one that we've had. I mean, he was with Red Hot Chili Peppers, and that, again, it was just like a weird, like, their music is not the same. It was just very much like, here's Bruno Mars, and now full stop, here's Red Hot Chili Peppers. And it was just, again, didn't flow very well. But that being said, Red Hot Chili Peppers did well in their performance. Bruno absolutely killed it. He's so entertaining. He's so charismatic and electrifying in his performance. He's a great dancer, great singer, but he also is a great musician in general. So he had like a drum solo at one point that went like 2 minutes. That was great. Again, great dancer. There was good choreography. I really, really, really enjoyed that performance. I think it's the best one we've had in a long time. This next one, I believe, is Stevie Wonder. And he was with, let's see, this was like the early 2000s, 1999. It was Gloria Estefan, Stevie Wonder, Big Bad Voodoo Daddy, and Savion Glover. And it was called Celebration of Soul, Salsa, and Swing. Because again, they used to have kind of like themes that they would go for. This one, um, I'm gonna put this one at the top of meh. Well, no, I'm gonna put it at good. I'm gonna put it in good because I did enjoy it. I thought it was good. It wasn't great. I wish there was like a great category in between good and goat. Because it was definitely better than meh. And it was not bad, but it was good. It was enjoyable. It's just gonna be bottom tier of good because I don't think it was nearly as good as Bruno Mars, but very entertaining. I mean, Stevie Wonder is very, very talented. He sounded great. It was just like it was not so much of a show per se as some of these are, with either the artists being very talented dancers or they have a ton of lights or lasers or pyro or stuff like that. It was just very much just kind of Stevie Wonder and Gloria Estefan kind of just singing their songs. So they're very talented, and so that was fun. It was good music. It was soul, salsa, and swing, and so they started off with like a 5-minute just like swing band playing, which was great, but just not on the same level as a bunch of the other ones. Next up, I'm almost positive this is Bruce Springsteen. Again, some of these thumbnails, they're not the best pictures. I'm pretty sure that's Bruce Springsteen, though. So Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. This one is also going to go in good. It's going to go below Bruno Mars, but above Stevie Wonder. This one was from 2009, and this is pretty much the start. I think 2008. Yeah, 2008 is the first halftime show I vividly remember seeing and like watching it live on the TV, and then from there I kind of remember all of them. So 2009 was Bruce Springsteen, and they were in the midst, pretty much at the end of a great run of shows. So starting with Bruce Springsteen 2009, working backward, you had Bruce, Tom Petty, Prince, the Rolling Stones, Paul McCartney, and then Janet Jackson, dating back to 2004. So a great run of shows there. A lot of classic rock coming in. I mean, this one is just like, it's Bruce Springsteen. He's been doing this, since like the 70s. Been performing around the world and writing music, and he's used to performing in big stadiums, arenas for tons of people under pressure. The E Street Band is, just incredibly talented, and they got a good time to shine too, where it was kind of just a couple different members had some solo time, and this was just it was a good show. It was a good rock show, so I really enjoyed it. So I'm putting it in the good tier. Next up is J-Lo and Shakira from last year. This is going in good as well. I'm putting this one below Bruno Mars, just barely, but definitely above Bruce Springsteen because, again, so this was last year's, and I unfortunately didn't get to watch it live because I was traveling on the way home, so I only got to see like the last quarter of the game, and I just missed the halftime show. But when I watched it back the next day, it was so wildly entertaining. And I think anyone who thinks otherwise, there's just some sort of, something in their head that's just blocking them from being able to fully appreciate how entertaining the show was. I mean, first of all, you have J-Lo and Shakira, who are both in their 40s, if not 50s, and they both look absolutely incredible. They can still dance like no one's business at that age and move. And they both sounded great as well vocally. It was thoroughly entertaining from start to finish. It was a great celebration of cultures too. It was great to have an all-women halftime show. First one they had in a while. Yeah, I mean, it was very entertaining. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very good. Let's see. Next up, I think this is Tom Petty. Yeah, this looks like Tom Petty. This is going to go in good as well, just below Bruce Springsteen. This was the year before Bruce Springsteen. And it was, it's Tom Petty. It's classic rock. It wasn't high energy because it's Tom Petty, so it's nothing too out there, or too crazy or rock and roll. But I mean, again, it's just a time-tested band who they've been around the block. They've done this before. I mean, not literally, but they've played the arenas, they've played the stadiums, and they're good under pressure. They weren't lip syncing, so you could feel the actual energy of the music. And Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers are a band who everyone knows at least one of their songs, and so just to hear, a whole stadium full of people singing "Free Fallin'" is pretty great. And it's cool that he's kind of forever immortalized with that performance too. So I enjoyed that one as well. Even as a 15-year-old, I still could appreciate it. It's just something about live music. It's just really good. And again, this was right in the thick of a great run of shows after they had kind of had a bunch of duds before these. So this was a great one. This next one, I can't tell who that is, so I'm going to save that for later just so I can look through. All right, Shakira is next. Excuse me, Beyonce is next. And she is going right below Shakira and J-Lo. Again, above Bruce Springsteen. Because this is another one that I'm actually putting them up. I'm gonna put her above Shakira and J-Lo, just below Bruno Mars. So this one was from 2013. So not only was this like peak Beyonce, I don't even think this was peak Beyonce. It was on our way to peak Beyonce. I think this kind of pushed her to new levels. But it was following just a really bad 2012 performance by Madonna. And so you have Beyonce, who, I mean, it's Beyonce. Like, it's going to be incredible. She's wildly talented. It was the perfect mix of, great singing and live vocals with great choreography and dancing, because she's also a very talented dancer. But also a good mix of there being, lights and lasers and tech, and it being a little bit of like a production. So just the mix of all that together, I thought it was a perfect mix, perfect blend of all that. Plus, we got a Destiny's Child reunion in the middle of the show, which was awesome as well for anyone who was, kind of, listening to Destiny's Child, the early to mid 2000s when they were a big thing. That was just great to see them back together. I think this is pretty close to an all-time performance. Again, I think her and Bruno, they were back to back. Bruno was the following year. And that was just a great run of the two of them, 2 years in a row. I think two of the best that we've had in very recent memory and of all time. Next up is Boys to Men. Where's this one? I think this one was... Yeah, this was from 1998, and this was the show that was Salute to Motown's 40th. So it was Boys to Men, Smokey Robinson, Martha Reeves, The Temptations, and Queen Latifah. And the thing with this was a lot of the music was more R&B and soul, which is not bad in and of itself, but for a halftime show, it just kind of brought the energy down a lot. I mean, obviously, it's Smokey Robinson, it's Boys to Men. These are very, very gifted vocalists and singers. So obviously they sounded good, but I will say Smokey Robinson, again, his music is very his vocals are very tucked back and very gentle. And so to do that in a live performance in a stadium filled with people, it definitely brought the energy way down. And it was a little hard to hear him at times. And then again, with Boys to Men, they very talented, but a lot of their songs are they're love making music. So it's a lot lower energy and it's slower paced. So it felt I feel like halftime of the Super Bowl, you're trying to kind of, get the energy up and flowing. So for that reason, I'm going to put this one in the top of bad, because I just feel like overall it wasn't necessarily the performers' fault, because they kind of did their job, but it was just a bad choice to have them as the performers, I think. Um, so could have been better, especially at the time in the late 90s. You could have had some great alt rock bands up there. All right, next up is, oh, that's the Snow one. Is that, let's see. I believe that was Gloria Estefan, if I'm remembering correctly. We're going to say that's what that one is. So this was 1992. So it was Gloria Estefan, and it was called Winter Magic. So the first 10 minutes of the show was just like a Broadway show performance with, there was an original song called Winter Magic. They had some dancers, they had an orchestra on the field playing it. And then that went right into a medley of Christmas songs, which felt really weird to me because it's like the Super Bowl is always in the beginning of February. So it's like, I get it. It's kind of peak winter time, but like Christmas is gone and over and done with. But now we're getting like winter, like Christmas songs. They had the University of Minnesota marching band because it was in Minnesota, so that was fine. And then they randomly had Brian Boitano and Dorothy Hamill just randomly skating on like two tiny patches of ice. And they were literally not more than probably 10 feet in circumference. So, or radius, whatever it is. And so they were just like skating in circles for like 5 minutes. And it was supposed to be like a tribute to the 92 Olympics. It was just weird. And they had like the 1980 men's hockey team like come out. It was just very bizarre. It didn't make sense. And then finally, the last, I think it was maybe 2 minutes, Gloria Estefan came out and she just lip synced, wasn't even live. So this one is going into bad for me. It was just, it was one of the first ones. Some of the first ones were just not very good. They were just very themed, and they kind of had like, I don't want to say they had some of them definitely had an agenda. This one didn't, but it was just bizarre. I didn't like it. So that goes into the bottom of the bad tier. Next up, we have, oh man, just an absolute fan favorite, 2011, the Black Eyed Peas. And my only note that I wrote is yikes, because that's all I have to say about this show was just yikes. This is going straight into terrible, because this was just bad. will.i.am had auto-tune on his voice the whole time, and it still somehow didn't sound good. Fergie's mic was like in and out for the entire performance, and she sounded very not good. It was not a good performance. And they also had some weird, backing, second tier bands with them that just it didn't fit. It was weird. I didn't like it. It was bad. So that goes into terrible all by itself so far. But now we go to 1991 with the very first halftime show, in this era. And it was dubbed the first all-kids halftime show. And it was technically the New Kids on the Block were the front, headliners. But it was, like they said, all kids. And so it was 2,000 kids. It was in partnership with Disney. I believe this was in Florida, if I'm remembering correctly. So it had, again, 2,000 kids that were singing a couple different songs. And then it got really weird, and it basically turned into like military propaganda because of the Gulf War that was happening, which if you don't know anything about that, definitely suggest you look it up because I'm not going to go into that whole topic. But, one of the lines that they said was, thank you to the troops who are protecting us over in the Gulf, which if you know anything about it, is just very ironic and backwards. And that was like majority of the show was like them singing like there was a kid who had a solo who sang "You Are the Wind Beneath My Wings," while random pictures of military members were shown. Um, and it felt like propaganda for the military. It was very uncomfortable. So this is going into the absolute bottom of terrible because I mean, also the New Kids on the Block were not good. It was lip synced. It was just not good. But everything that came before that too was just very uncomfortable. So that is that. Um, I can't tell who this next one is, so I'm gonna leave it for now. We'll come back to it. Next up is U2. So this came in 2002. Um, this performance was only 4 months removed from 9/11, and so it was a very emotional performance the whole time. Very pointed. It was basically just a tribute for the victims of 9/11, as well as kind of just to try to be a re-banding together of the country. Very famously at the end, Bono ripped open his jacket, which had the American flag sewn into it. They they started off with "It's a Beautiful Day," and then finished or went into I can't remember the name of the song, but while they were performing it they had a screen that just showed the name of every single victim from the attacks, and then finished off with "Where the Streets Have No Name." So very pointed, very emotional, very thought out. So this one I thought this one I'm putting above Bruce Springsteen in the good category, because it was a good show. It was a good rock and roll show. Very, again, emotional and pointed. So it was very, very well executed. All right, next up is the one with Christina Aguilera. Where is that? All right, so this is from 2000. And I didn't write down the theme, but I think it was something about, just like the new millennium. And so this was Phil Collins, Tony Braxton, Christina Aguilera, Enrique Iglesias, and I believe Sting as well. This one was weird. I didn't like it. It was just like it was another Disney one, and at this point, it was like the third or fourth like Disney produced halftime show, and so again, it was just a bunch of Disney songs. Like Phil Collins just sang songs from Tarzan, and it just, I mean, I guess at the time, like for the kids, it was great and they enjoyed it, but like I just feel like at that point, especially, the NFL was like not targeting children at all, especially those who were watching like Disney. So it just felt very out of place and like just another like promotional thing of like, hey, you know, Disney gave us, you know, Disney gave us how X amount of money so they could put it on a show. Like, we're not going to say no. So it was just, I don't know. I didn't really like it. Didn't really fit. It was just a lot of Disney songs. So I'm just putting this below Madonna, but above the winter themed one, whatever it was called. Yeah. All right. Let's take a quick water break here. And then we'll get back into it. Okay. Let's move on now to, let's see, Diana Ross. This is a good one. So this is from 1996. This was one of the first ones that had live vocals and live music. Um, well, I guess I shouldn't say that. They had a couple at this point, but it was just nice because it followed a it followed yet another Disney one, which was just a lot of lip syncing and overproduction. So it was nice to have Diana Ross, very talented um, artist. It was overall it was a good show. It was entertaining. I mean, she left the stadium in a helicopter, which was pretty epic. But I don't know. For me, I don't know. It was just fine. I don't know if I want to put it in good, or I feel like it was better than meh. So I'm gonna put it in good because I was entertained by it. I did enjoy it. I'm putting it below Stevie Wonder though, so it's at the bottom of good because again, I mean that's probably one of the most iconic ways that a show has ended at the halftime. I mean, literally a helicopter flew in, landed in the stadium, she got in it, and then flew away. It was just really cool. And it was one of the first ones again that had like live music that was entertaining and just like a concert kind of feel. So it was good. It was good. All right, next up is one that I just don't know how to feel about it. 1997 it was the Blues Brothers, ZZ Top, and James Brown. So again, another show that's just like, how did these groups, these musicians, all end up on the same bill? They just didn't really fit together, in my opinion. Especially when the headliner of the Blues Brothers is essentially a satirical band that was created on the set of SNL. I mean, it just felt like a big promotional like concert. Essentially, it felt like they were just trying to push like a new movie that was coming out, and because they're the Blues Brothers, it's like, all right, let's get James Brown, I guess. Who, by the way, James Brown and ZZ Top, their performances were good. I mean, not like the Blues Brothers was bad, but it's just like it's them performing other people's music, and it just felt weird to me. I was like, I just feel like this is a spot that could go to like people who are much more dedicated to like music than just like some SNL actors who are pushing a movie. So this one's gonna go into meh, just because of James Brown and ZZ Top, who performed very well when they were given the opportunity. If it wasn't for them, it would definitely go into bad for me because again, it's not like the performance itself was too bad, but it just felt like something was being forced on me of like, here's the Blues Brothers, like make sure to go watch them. Like it felt like if like in 2009 we had like the Naked Brothers band and it was like, make sure every Wednesday night at 8/7 Central on Disney Channel you watch the Naked Brothers band. It's just like, yeah, it's just weird. All right, moving along. We have 2018, pretty recent, Justin Timberlake. And this is one that a lot of people didn't like. And I think a lot of people would put this in the bad category, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was entertaining. You had the Tennessee Kids, who are a great band, and they got some time to shine. It was in Minnesota, and it was pretty soon after Prince had passed away, so they did a nice little tribute to him, which, again, I thought was cool. It wasn't great, but I didn't think it was bad. So I'm putting this at the top of the meh category because I do see where it was a little lackluster because it was, pretty soon after he had released Man of the Woods, and he performed a lot of songs off of that record, which, critically already was not doing super well. Again, I enjoyed the record. I thought it was very good, but critically and more widely, pop culturally didn't do super well. So I think people would have performed, people would have preferred if this was a show that came probably like 2011, 2012 after the 2020 Experience came out, and he performed more songs off of that. I understand that. So it goes at the top of meh for me. Next up is Lady Gaga, and this one was the year prior in 2017. This is one that I think a lot of people actually really enjoyed that I thought was pretty boring throughout. I mean, it was cool. Oh, excuse me. It was cool at the beginning when she like jumped off the stadium, quote unquote. But I don't know. I didn't think it was that entertaining. I thought it was fairly boring. So I'm putting this at the bottom. Yeah, I'm putting this at the bottom of meh for now. It may get moved down to bad. No, I got to put in bad. If I put Madonna in bad, I got to put this in bad too. So I'm going to put her above Madonna, but below Boys to Men. I just thought it was kind of boring. All right, next up is Coldplay. This is another one. So this is the year prior again. This is from 2016. This is another one that a lot of people didn't like it, and they thought it was really boring. They thought it sounded bad, but I really enjoyed it. This was after my peak. I mean, right around like 2012, 2013, I was like mega into Coldplay. Everyone has that phase where they just love Coldplay. This came after that, so I'm not that biased. I thought it was really fun. I think Coldplay always put on a good show. They also had Beyonce and Bruno Mars perform as well throughout it. And again, the music doesn't go super well together, but at that point, Coldplay was hitting a little bit more of their pop stride as opposed to like the alternative stride. I thought it was really fun. I thought they sounded good. I'm putting it in the good category. I'm putting this I'm going to put this below Tom Petty, but above Stevie Wonder and Diana Ross. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good, and this is my list, so if you don't like it, make your own. Who's next? Yes. Now we have the infamous 2004 performance by Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake. Listen, we all know what happened. It's out there. Boom, we've addressed it. Let's move on. I did think, though, that outside of that whole debacle, I thought that this was a really entertaining show. I did. I think Janet Jackson is talented. That whole kind of Rhythm Nation era, I really enjoyed. I thought the music was good. I mean, just like her brother, she's a good performer, runs in the family. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great, but I thought it was entertaining. So I'm willing to put this at the top of meh, especially just because it did create a lot of buzz and headlines the next day. So you got to give it credit where credit is due, regardless of if you enjoyed that or thought it was good or not or whatever. All right, moving along here, because I don't want to take everyone's time up here. We have 2015 Katy Perry. This one I really enjoyed. Obviously, we now have the infamous meme of Left Shark that came from this performance, and I thought it was entertaining from start to finish. I thought she did a great job. The energy was high. It was live vocals and live music, so that's always good. It was just a good show. So I'm willing to put her up here right above Coldplay and right below Tom Petty. Again, very entertaining, but you're just not at that kind of legendary status. It was just one that I was like, hey, that was good. I enjoyed that. Which makes doing this next one a lot easier, which is from 2 years ago, and it was Maroon 5. And I'm going to go ahead and put this one right at the bottom in terrible. It's not the worst of all time because it's hard to be worse than straight up military propaganda / war propaganda. But this one wasn't much better than that. It was just very odd. It was cringy throughout. He took his shirt off for no reason. I just didn't like this at all. I thought the music was bad. I thought the production side of it was bad. Like, it was not entertaining. It was just uncomfortable, bad. Adam Levine has terrible tattoos. Again, another one where it was like Maroon 5. Like, I feel like this should have been in like 2007. Um, I'm probably more alone in this thought, but like it also just kind of felt like, hey, by the way, check out The Voice on NBC Mondays at 8. Because like Maroon 5 wasn't doing a ton at this time, so it just felt a little off, felt a little weird to me. Um, anyways, moving on now to, oh, what is that one? That's got to be one of the first ones. Let's see. Oh, that may have been the Disney, the final Disney one. Yeah, that's got it. No, no, it wasn't. Let's see. Who would that one have been? Oh, was that Shania Twain? No. I don't even seen that one on here. I don't know what one that is. All right. Next up, all right, this is easy. Next up is Prince. This is going right into the GOAT category. I know that this one is just always said, it's the standard of like everything gets measured against Prince and nothing ever compares. And I agree, but I think it's good to just be reminded of why. So I highly recommend, if you haven't seen it within the past like year, that you go back and watch. It's on YouTube. I highly recommend you go watch it. It is truly incredible. I mean, it's Prince. He's, again, similar to like Bruno Mars, captivating, entertaining, high energy, a lot of charisma, a good blend of showmanship with music and musicality, and you also just can't beat, like, it was kismet that he was performing Purple Rain while it's like downpouring in the stadium. It was just perfect timing. It was just great. It's a legendary performance. Yeah, that's number one. That goes into GOAT status for sure. Next up is another Disney one. This is from '95. I told you there's so many Disney produced ones. So this one's from '95, and it was literally an Indiana Jones themed halftime show, and it was to legitimately promote the new Indiana Jones ride at Disneyland. Like, this one just screams like we got paid a butt ton of money to let them do the halftime show. And I hate that. It was just a complete sellout. It was like, I don't know. It was also just weird. Like, I didn't do a whole lot of research into it, but it had a very like cultural, tribal vibe to it, which to me, it just felt like there was a decent amount of appropriation going on and like unnecessary stuff that it just made me uncomfortable. And then all of a sudden, we had Patti LaBelle, Arturo Sandoval, and Tony Bennett performing, which again just did not fit at all. It was very weird. I mean, they did fine. Patti LaBelle was lip syncing. Arturo Sandoval, I believe, was actually playing, and I know that Tony Bennett did not lip sync because he just like doesn't do that. But it was just bad. I just didn't like it. This one goes into, is it going to terrible or bad? I think this one goes at the bottom of the bad tier because it's not on the same level of horrid as like Maroon 5 and Black Eyed Peas and Propaganda, but it was bad. So it goes at the bottom of the bad tier for me. Next up is another GOAT one. This is Paul McCartney. This goes into GOAT status as well. So this one was from 2005. And yeah, I just think it was one of the best of all time. Really enjoyed it. He did maybe one or two solo songs, but then he did a couple of Beatles songs as well. And I mean, it's Paul McCartney. So again, at this point, he had been doing this for like almost 50 years of like performing live, and having, written and performed music. Um, so he knew what he was doing. He sounded great. The audio itself sounded great. Um, and there's just something about an entire stadium full of people singing "Hey Jude" together that you just can't beat that. It was really good, really, really, really good. So that goes into the GOAT category as well. And then this last one here also goes into the GOAT category, and I think I'm going to put it above Paul McCartney 2 as the second best performance of all time, and that is 1993 Michael Jackson. Another iconic performance, especially when you see that he comes out onto it's something you have to watch. Again, highly recommend you watch these three that are in the GOAT categories. But his entrance is incredible, and then once he's actually on the stage and has made his entrance, he literally stands there motionless for 2 minutes while the entire stadium is just losing their mind cheering the entire time. He doesn't bat an eye. He doesn't move a muscle. He's just standing there, and the crowd is losing it. I mean, this was absolute, peak Michael Jackson in his career, I think. I think it was like right off the heels of Dangerous coming out. And it was just, this was like the first one that had live music, the first one that had like production to it, and there was like pyro and there were dancers. And obviously you have Michael Jackson, who's one of the best dancers of all time, in my opinion, just one of the greatest entertainers. And so when you give him a stadium full of 100,000 people in LA, in Southern California, and let him do his thing, it's going to be incredible. And it was. And I think it was the second best halftime show of all time. And you could make an argument for it being the best of all time. But for me, Prince kind of edges it out. So let's go through here now and figure out what these last four pictures are. So 91, we're done. We did that one. 92, I thought was Gloria Estefan and Brian Boitano. I thought it was this one, but maybe that is a different one. Man, I'm not sure. Michael Jackson we did. All right, so one of these, I'm going to say that this one with the people in black leather is from 94, which was Clint Black, Tanya Tucker, Travis Tritt, and the Judds. My first note was who. That's mostly probably going to be on me, I think, because I was 1 year old at this time, so I didn't see it live. I saw it for the first time this afternoon when I watched it on YouTube. And it was called Rockin' Country Sunday. I hate country music, so I didn't like it. Obviously, I wasn't going to like it, and I hadn't heard any of these people. I figured if it's country, I would have heard of some of them. But again, this is the 90s, so, I don't know. Maybe they were big then, but I just didn't enjoy it, so I'm just putting it in bad. Putting this in the bad category. That's really all I have to say about that one. We did Diana Ross, we did Blues Brothers, we did Motown, we did Stevie Wonder, we did Phil Collins, we did Aerosmith, U2. One of these is Shania Twain. Shania Twain and No Doubt. I don't think I mistook any of these for that one. So we'll just act like this one is Shania Twain and No Doubt. And that one is, I don't know. It was fine. Shania Twain was very obviously lip syncing, and like in the YouTube comments, everyone was like loving Shania Twain. They're like, "Oh, she's still a goddess. She's still so classy." It's like, yeah, but like she was lip syncing the whole time. She's not a dancer, so she wasn't moving much. There wasn't much production. And then just to go like the total opposite of the paradigm shift, whatever you want to call it, to like No Doubt, which was like the most 2003 thing ever. Performing. I'm Just a Girl. It was just like, I don't know. They no doubt didn't perform very well, and it just like didn't fit. So I think I'm gonna put this one in. I think I'm gonna put this one in bad. I just didn't really fit for me. I just didn't really enjoy it. And I'm realizing now that this black leather one is probably actually the Rolling Stones from 2006. So I'm going to move this one up because this one was very good. I enjoyed it. I'm putting it in the good category. I'm putting it just above Diana Ross because this is another performance where I was like, this feels like it's about 20 years too late. I mean, it was 2006 that you have the Rolling Stones perform. Like, should have had them in the 80s or 70s. I mean, you can't beat the energy of Mick Jagger. But like he was kind of off part of the times, and some of the times it was like, is he like wasted right now? Or like, oh wait, no, that was really good. It's like, oh, that was pretty off key. It was a little all over the place again. I mean, at this point they were all in their late 50s, maybe early 60s at that point. So it's like, I don't know, not looking too good. So this one I'm going to say is the country one. So we're going to leave this one in bad. And then finally, this one I now know is 2010, and it was The Who. And this one I felt was pretty good. It felt like it was the colliding of two worlds of like classic. You have a classic rock band in The Who. They are performing live classic rock music. There's not dancers, but there's a big stage. They had a pretty decently large laser show to go with it. There was some tech and production to it, but it felt like it was a good colliding of those two worlds because you're kind of coming off of a run of 4 or 5 years of like good classic performers with not much pomp and circumstance. And then it led into the era of just like everything being lip synced, and it's a ton of choreography and fireworks and video stuff. So I felt like it was a good melding of the two of those. But again, another one that this one to me felt like it was about 15 years too late for them to be performing. But that being said, they go into good as well for me, and they go right below Coldplay for me. So you know what? What I'm going to do, I'm going to move this one down here. I'm going to move Boyz II Men up to the bottom of meh. And then I'm going to leave Lady Gaga in bad. So our definitive list here now, if you're listening and you can't see, starting with the very best, going to the very worst. In the GOAT status, we have Prince, then Michael Jackson, then Paul McCartney. In the good category, we have, you know what, I'm going to move Bruno Mars up to GOAT because that was an incredible performance. And I think having 4 GOATs is perfect. All right, so at the top of good, then we have Beyonce, followed by J-Lo and Shakira, followed by U2, then Bruce Springsteen, then Tom Petty, then Katy Perry, then Coldplay, then The Who, then Stevie Wonder, then the Rolling Stones, and then Diana Ross. And now that I think about it, I'm actually going to move the Rolling Stones to the top of meh. And so we're going to round out good with Diana Ross then. Then starting us off with meh, we have the Rolling Stones, then Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake, and then Justin Timberlake by himself, and then Aerosmith, NSYNC, Britney Spears, and then Blues Brothers, James Brown, ZZ Top, and then Boyz II Men. And I think it's pretty funny that all 3 times Justin Timberlake performed are right next to each other, and they're all in the meh category. Tough look for our guy, JT. With the bad category, leading us off, we have Lady Gaga, followed by Madonna, Christina Aguilera, Sting, Enrique Iglesias, Disney production, then Shania Twain, No Doubt, then the country artists, I Don't Know, then the Indiana Jones Fever Dream with Patti LaBelle and Tony Bennett, and then Gloria Estefan / Winter Magic. And then rounding us off with Terrible is Black Eyed Peas, followed swiftly by Maroon 5, followed then at the very bottom by Military Propaganda, New Kids on the Block. So there you have it. There's our definitive list of Super Bowl halftime shows. I'm actually not going to do the City Jersey one because we're a little bit over time here, so I don't want to keep anyone any longer here. So yeah, that was our list. Hopefully that was enjoyable for you and made sense if you're listening. I had a lot of fun doing it. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think someone should be higher or lower, or if you totally agree with my perfect list. You can hit me up on social media or send an email. And then again, you can make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can listen to this on Spotify or anywhere that you do get your podcasts. But with that being said, I do want to thank you guys for listening and hanging out. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.